Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in another video. All right, so maybe I'm a little feisty today. So if my energy's a little off, I don't know why that is. I'm actually in a good mood, but it seems like I'm just snapping at people online. So I'm gonna try to keep that energy off of this camera. But what I will say is, I'm thinking about the Boston Celtics, and I guess because of the mood I'm in, I'm putting myself in their shoes and I'm thinking about what I have to do if I'm bringing in Kevin Durant. And to be honest with you, I don't want to do it. If I'm Brad Stevens, I don't want to do this trade because I have to give up either Marcus Smart or Robert Williams or both of them in order to make it happen. And I don't like removing my defensive identity from my ball club to bring in a player who's going to bring scoring to the table. Now, KD can play some D. Don't get it twisted. He's going to be a part of a good defensive team, and he's been the leader of championship defensive squads in the past. So I don't look at him as a defensive liability or even as somebody who's not going to be a defensive strength. But he ain't about to be Marcus Smart, and he's not about to be Robert Williams or the combination of both. That is what he's not going to do defensively. And that's your identity in my eyes. Yes, Jason Tatum's your star. Jaylen Brown's your second star, your Robin, so to speak. I hate to put it like that, but this is just for the structure of what we're talking about. You have your structure in place. But then you got your heart and soul in Marcus Smart. And one of the best rim protectors in Robert Williams. And I just don't think you can actually win if you extract those two pieces. Bringing in a player, Kevin Durant, who's going to make your offense awesome, make your defense solid, but really you lose a lot of defensive players who can focus only on that side of the ball if necessary. Grant Williams obviously is going to be given more of a role if he's retained. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm taking him too. I'm taking your entire defense. If I'm Sean Marks, I'm taking your entire defense, and I'm bringing that defense to Brooklyn with Ben Simmons, and we're going to be the best defensive team in the league. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. We ain't going to be able to score very much if we're Brooklyn, but we're going to have a defensive identity, and we're going to have some key shooters. So I think that's the way to go if you're Brooklyn. But if you're Boston, you don't want to do that. If I'm the Celtics, don't look at Marcus Smart as a player that I'm willing to deal in this trade. And I told you guys I'm up for dealing Robert Williams because of the knee. But if I prove wrong in assessing that knee is a problem going forward and he turns out to be the player that he is without the knee issues, I don't feel good about trading him at all right now. He's too young to trade. He's too good and he's still on the uprise. The only thing that makes me even think he's not on the uprise is the beginning stages of leg and knee issues, which is ultimately why I give him up instead of Marcus Smart. Because even those are both players who I think can win Defensive Player of the Year. Robert can get one. It's about whether or not he can stay healthy enough to do so. And I love the fact that he played on that injured leg. It shows you the heart that he has, which is another reason why I'm not so quick to move on from him. Because even if he is hurt in a league where guys don't want to play a lot of games because of that, he's playing on an injured leg when it matters most. So that counts. But at the same time, we've talked about this, the Grant Hill story. And he played on an injured leg, and we saw that played out for him. That's what scares me. I remember that. So, that's the thing about being older. You have so many different memories of where things didn't go right in scenarios that are now present. Now, they could very well go right, but because you have those memories, it's like, I don't know. My skepticism tells me to be careful. And that's exactly how I feel about Robert Williams. You just got to be very careful with big men and legs and playing on injured legs and all that kind of stuff, surgery, and you just have to be very careful. And so I'm a believer in Robert Williams. Listen, I'm a believer. I would have drafted him with the Lakers pick when we had it. That was my choice. I would have taken Robert Williams. I think that's how that went. I might be getting him mixed up with somebody else who has similar strengths, but nevertheless, I'm thinking Robert Williams should have been drafted with the Lakers if we had an opportunity to get him. And I think he was projected to be drafted around the area we drafted. We just didn't get him or something. I don't know. Whatever. I would have took him. Point B. So I'm a believer. Just if I have to choose between him and Marcus Smart, I might have to take Marcus Smart. Now, if I'm the Celtics, I already have those two in place. I got Grant Williams as well. To me, in my mind, that makes me the best defensive team in the Eastern Conference, maybe in the entire NBA, especially since who I thought was the best in the West has since depleted some of their defensive pieces. GP2 is gone from Golden State. You know what I mean? Otto Porter is gone from Golden State. I think he left. Pretty sure he left. Yeah, he went to Toronto. So you losing key players that help you defensively over there, and the Boston Celtics look like they're about to do the same thing. And if that happens, if the Boston Celtics make this trade, you have to see what they put together afterwards. You have to see what else they can do, if they can maneuver at all after that, because chances are they won't be very flexible. If Brad makes this move, the Nets are going to probably try to deplete him of his flexibility. And the Boston Celtics have built everything that they've had has been built on flexibility. Good trades that they've made with Brooklyn to assure that they have all of Brooklyn's picks. That's what Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are, Brooklyn's picks, if I'm not mistaken. Marcus Smart might be too. So when you look at what this is, you're looking at a situation where Brooklyn's going to try to regain what it is that they lost from the Nets in those deals back then, which makes this a kind of an interesting storyline as well, given the history. But all in all, poor Jaylen Brown, I do expect for him to be on a different team to start the season. If this trade goes through, he's the piece. I don't know if he's happy about that or not. There's been mixed signals about his feelings about Boston, and I know he's been having a great time in his off season, kind of focusing on things that have to do with like fashion and stuff like that. He's kind of focused on his outside stuff right now. But when he gets back to basketball, we know what type of player he is. The only thing I really say he has to continue to work on is his handle. Everything else, he's ready to go. That dude is a star. And I would trust him. I would trust him if I were the Brooklyn Nets. I'd feel real good about bringing him in. But it's just about what else you attach to him to make yourself feel like you've gotten the right return. So, yeah. Boston, though. I mean, look, man, I don't want to underrate what KD's acquisition means. 4 years of KD is tremendous for your franchise if you're anybody. A chance at 4 years at KD is worth it for a lot of teams, I think. Just in case he decides he wants out of your situation too. I think a chance is worth it. But it's just about who you are. Boston just went to the NBA Finals, best defense in the East, should be the best team in the Eastern Conference this season without making this move. I don't know that I feel they are going to be the best team in the Eastern Conference after the move. I don't know that. I think they're amongst them. But when you start depleting yourself of key defensive players and now you're just leaning on offense, you've lost your identity. That's not Boston. That's not who they are. See, now you got to revamp everything that you do. Now Jason Tatum's taking on even more defensive assignments. Now Jason Tatum's going to be tasked with taking better shots. He has less of a rope to shoot. How does he adjust to that? Now that he's not even the first option anymore on a team. Or is he going to remain the first option? And does that benefit you since Kevin Durant is obviously more gifted scorer? These are things that Ime Udoka is going to have to figure out on the fly, and I'm pretty sure since he's one of the best coaches, that won't be something that he won't do. But it's going to have to be done, and there's a difference between trying to manage young egos and then trying to manage Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum in a situation where you've been depleted of depth. So I don't like it for Boston. I hadn't given it much thought. Honestly, I really hadn't. I had thought more about Philadelphia, and I discussed how I didn't think Philly had the package to make me, if I'm Brooklyn, do that deal. Boston does. So if I'm Brooklyn, I want to send them to Boston. But if I'm Boston, I don't want to do this deal. That's just basically it. I don't want to. I don't want to. That's my vibes for this deal. I don't want to. I know it probably benefits me in a lot of ways because that's Kevin Durant. But I believe that role players hold a great deal of value, especially in this era, because you do need more depth. There's less talent, less players on the back of benches. Once the second unit comes in, you're still dealing with guys. Once the third unit comes in garbage time, you still have guys that are capable of proving themselves and keeping the score out of reach in a comeback situation. You have to have your Marcus Smarts. You have to have your Otto Porters. You have to have your Grant Williams. All these different guys. Gary Paytons. You need these players. You need them to keep your superstars from having to take on punishment that they ain't got no business taking on, so that you can stay healthy for 82 games, so that you can have a good run in the playoffs. If you're leaning too much on your stars, see Lakers last year, it doesn't very much work in a league that is deep. Now, a team in the 80s, half the squad can't dribble, half the squad can't even hit a jumper. Skilled players are hard to find. Guys are one-trick ponies up and down the roster. You can get away with that. You can get away with it. You don't need everybody to be good. You just need a couple guys to be good. That's not the world we're in. We got to adjust out of that mentality. The old world where a superstar can win you a championship. He can't. He can't. Not in today's league. The league is too deep. He's getting hit with too many weapons from too many angles. And that's what I'm saying in terms of adapting to the new world we're in terms of the NBA. That's one of those points that I don't think too many people are taking into account. And this wasn't as much talent back in the day up and down the roster to where, as you view it, it was true that the best player in the league is likely going to win the championship, or if you put a super team together, you don't need everybody to be good because the top heavy team is going to get through it, because the guys are going to play 40 minutes a game, and they're going to just manage. They can handle it because when the bench comes in, they suck, so it doesn't matter. There's no urgency to put stars back on the floor. Stuff like that was real in the 80s and 90s. Now, the guys on the back of the bench have played in the G League, been through AAU tournaments, have opportunities not come their way and are itching for an opportunity. Guys who may have just had to sit down after playing consistent minutes for 3 weeks because of injuries. Now somebody came back, so you got to sit down. These type of things make it so that there's a certain sense of urgency coming off of your bench from these players that don't play very much. And that trickles directly down to what stars' impact on seasons can be. Not necessarily games, because from game to game, star can go crazy. But season to season, you need depth now. You didn't need it then. Now you do. So, with that understanding in place, we got to adjust to say a superstar may not be able to win a championship by himself. That's where my mind has now since adjusted over the last couple of years. I don't automatically assume that any one star playing today can will his team without an adequate set of backup players and rim protection and shooters and rebounders. That league is done. That league is done. And so that's why I just kind of speak the way that I do and assume certain things the way that I do as I speak about basketball, because that's always in my equation. I always had it in my head. I don't think Giannis can win a championship without Chris Middleton and Bobby Portis and those guys. As great as Giannis is, he ain't going to get through a 7-game series without those fellas. Not going to happen. He didn't. You saw what happened with Middleton. Didn't happen. He was the same Giannis, just as good as he was last year, if not better. Didn't matter. Joel takes more than just him. So on and so forth. Look at Steph. He won a championship, yes. Look at all the talent around him. See what I'm saying? There's everything. Ben had everything all the time. So it's like, when we look at certain players like Bradley Beal, who haven't had that type of situation, or Carmelo Anthony didn't have that type of situation, Dame Lillard, guys that have money but didn't have the talent around them, maybe because of it in some cases. They didn't win. They're not put in that level of player. Maybe they were just as talented. Maybe they were capable of winning just as much. But they weren't in the situations where the talent was there. And because of it, in this era, they couldn't will themselves to no championships. So, this is what it is, man. That's why guys like James Harden constantly looking for super teams to go to. It's not because they're not capable of winning in the old NBA by themselves. Because they would have. They would have. You give them a team. Look at Allen Iverson's team. He got to the finals and he was the only scorer on the squad. Couldn't do that today. He wouldn't win 15 games with that Philly team today. He wouldn't. He'd still get his 60 points, but he'd lose every single night. Just being honest. He knows that. Teams just, you can't structure a team like that. You can't have skillless players on your bench. You got too many guys who can do everything. So this is where we're at, man. It's a different world. And you got to accompany stars with depth. That's why I'm telling all the superstars, hey, look, it's not an ego shot that I'm telling you that you can't win in Brooklyn, even though all three of y'all are there. It's not an ego shot. It's because I'm looking at exactly what I've just been saying for the last 5 minutes. That's all. I have that in my head. And I know that that's not a common thing. I know that. Because it's understood that one star should be able to drive you anywhere in the NBA. It's the other sports that are team sports. It's football where you need everybody. It's baseball where you need everybody. Basketball, nah, I just need a couple guys to go crazy. Not with conditioning being as it is. Not with these guys being as strong as they are. Not with the game being as complicated and now evolved as it is. No. Nope. Not with this version of the NBA. Not with this version of basketball. Absolutely not. So we gotta adjust our thinking, and because of it, I get back to my same big point that I've been talking about all week. The system has to change too, because it directly affects what it is that we're seeing, how these guys are paid, how the contracts are structured. It was for a world where the teams were like that, not like this. See? That's what I'm on, man. That's what I've been preaching all dang week, I guess, and we'll continue to throughout the summer as these situations continue to play themselves out, and I continue to hear these conversations where people are blaming people for reacting, and people are, just molding these things according to how the narratives are flowing our way, entertainment narratives or whatever. But when it really comes down to it, if you're trying to win, you need everything. The star ain't gonna be enough, and if you're building top heavy in this era, you will not win. You will not. And that is why. Simple as that. Your depth ain't there. You ain't going to get through a series. You can get through a season maybe. Win a lot of games. You get to a playoff series. The court shrinks. Guys get to study film on you. See you every night and your tendencies. Your little combinations of players and rotations that you like to run. Now they get to study that and zero in on it. Nah. And you can start getting schemed against in that way. You had better have enough depth and enough matchup size to go up against what's coming at you, or you and your superstar are going to be going home. That is where we at. So that's what I got to say, man. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching. Wow.